was the first guy, as far as we know, to sort of unify it and become like the first king or ruler or pharaoh of Egypt, and that happened around 3150 BC. And it's, those dynasties of kings ran for nearly 500 odd years in those first two dynasties before you get into what's known as the Old Kingdom, which is sort of the very famous part of the Egyptian civilization, dynasties 3 through 6, to which the massive stone pyramids are generally all attributed. Typically the fourth dynasty, although they do go back to the third, with Sneferu and Djoser. Djoser being supposedly the builder of the step pyramid, the first proto-pyramid. It's worth noting that there are, a lot of these artifacts that we've talked about, the vases and other things that show this incredible precision, actually predate the beginning of this. In fact, some of these are, there's evidence for sites that go back as far as 13, 14, 15,000 years, where some of these artifacts have been found that match kind of the stuff that comes either from the early pre-dynastic, the Nadak culture, and then the early dynastic period. The majority of vases and those artifacts were found beneath that step pyramid. You and I went down there, and there's like 40 to 50,000 of them were found, or fragments of them in some hole. You can still find fragments of them down there today. All of that stuff peaked really early on. Same thing with the pyramids, right? Very interesting to think about that. This is also a period of time where the Orthodox, I guess, mainstream model doesn't attribute the capability to quarry granite, which is ridiculous when you look at structures like the Valley Temple and what's inside the Great Pyramid with these 70, 80 ton beams of granite. I mean, you've got stones at Giza that are 450 to 500 tons, limestone blocks, and you've got 80 to 100 ton blocks of granite. I mean, it's crazy to think that they couldn't quarry granite. Obviously, whoever built those things could quarry granite. You then break it up into these intermediate periods, and this is essentially like civil strife. The upper and lower portions of Egypt are disconnected. They have different rulers. It's not a unified area or a unified country. And then you have the Middle Kingdom, dynasties 11 through 14, running up to nearly 1500 BC. A longer or a second intermediate period, followed by the New Kingdom. Now, this is what I mentioned earlier, where probably the power of the civilization probably hit its peak. Dynasties 18 through 20, 19 being kind of one of the infamous dynasties, Seti the First, Merenptah, Ramses II, and these guys had a lot of power and wealth, and they constructed a lot of the work you see at places like Karnak and Luxor. Again, I think they built that around pre-existing older structures. There's plenty of evidence for that. And after that, you have a much longer third intermediate period. You get into the late period up around 500 BC. The Ptolemaic period, which is the Greek-Roman time when there was a lot of influence and coming from the Greeks and the Romans coming into Egypt, and obviously they were getting influenced by it as well. But then, 30 BC, 2,050 years ago, Cleopatra, that's when she committed suicide, and that is kind of the official end of the Egyptian civilization as we know it. So, it's, what is it, 20, 50 years, 2,050 years-ish to Cleopatra, but Cleopatra is like 3,100 or over 3,100 years from this early part of the period, and certainly just under 3,000 years after the established or orthodox date for the building of the Great Pyramid. So, yep, she's closer to us than she is to the building of those pyramids, or at least even when they say they were built. I think there's a chance there was something there before that.
Wow, that was a phenomenal summary. And I didn't know Cleopatra committed suicide.
Famously,
How
yeah.
did
So
do
she was
that?
by snakebite, asp. She,
Oh, wow.
she stuck her hand in and stirred up a snake and was bit by a snake and died. At least that's the story.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah. It's a story. There's some old
Yeah.
old movies that get into it that are kind of cool. Some of the,
Why did she want to
I
commit
can't
suicide?
remember. I don't know. It was something to do with capitulation or being. I don't know. I can't remember. There is a story attached to it though. But it's been a long time since I've looked at it. That's not my.
I'll have to watch that new Netflix documentary to get the answers.
I'm sure it'll give you the truth. Yeah, Netflix is known
Yeah.
for accurately depicting historical events.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you
No.
watched it?
No. I
Okay,
wouldn't-
good. I haven't watched it
No.
either.
No,
I'll have to consult a nerd rod.
Yeah, yeah. Get Gary onto it. He'll tell you about. I think Gary did talk about it. Yeah, I love Gary. We kind of.
Yeah, he's a big fan of your channel, and I'm gonna have him
Oh,
on
awesome.
soon.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yes, he is going to come to Egypt with me at some point for sure. He's down. He's very interested. I've been on his Forbidden Frontier show. We talk a bit. I was a massive fan of his channel back when it had like it was just getting started. I was subbed like like a couple thousand subs. I was on board. So yeah, I quite enjoy his work, and I share a lot of his opinions about the state of kind of modern culture in Hollywood. And
Yeah.
I'm a child of the '70s, so I grew up on Star Wars, and I'm just they've ruined that for me. So not to divert into those topics, but yeah, I'm a big fan of Gary's.
Well, yeah, there's something so satisfying about his channel where you're kind of like you're watching the downfall of things that you love, and you're wondering, okay, am I the only one seeing reality this way? And then he has this take, and clearly millions of other people are seeing it like him. So
Yep. No,
Yeah.
no, it's our fault though. It's we're just toxic and
yeah, it's funny when worlds collide, because I know your channel has quite a few big fans, like Danica Patrick.
Oh, really?
Right? I think she watches
no,
your
that's
channel.
cool. I didn't know that. Well,
yeah,
no, she's
I
had
don't know,
Jimmy.
like all
she
sorts
had
of
Jimmy
people.
on, and yeah, I know she's interested in the topic, but that's cool. Yeah.
Are you going on Rogan anytime
I
soon?
don't know. I haven't reached out. I haven't heard from. I mean, he did say at the time that he wanted to do it again, and it certainly seems like a good topic. I kind of wish that I'd done it a little later in the year, because I think I would have been able to talk about the vases a little bit more articulately than I did at the time. But it was fine. I was happy with it. I have been intending and trying to force myself to reach out at some point to see if we can do that again. I think maybe this year I might reach out. I have no idea if it's actually going to happen. He did.
Well, I bet he'd love to go on one of your tours.
Oh, dude, I've seeded
Yeah.
that idea actually with Andrew Schultz. I did mention to Andrew Schultz because we DM him with him occasionally, and I said, look, if ever you guys want to go, I said, look, I can hook it up. Like I wouldn't imagine he'd want to go on a tour, but I could definitely make a full private tour happen. Like I have the connections to make it, like him and his buddies or whatever, if they wanted to do like a private access only kind of tour where he wasn't going to be bothered by.
I could see him going on a tour.
You could see him going on a tour.
Yeah. I mean, he's not like one of those guys that's like, I need my own special
Maybe,
space.
I don't know.
Like when I went to a UFC event, and he was like walking through the crowd right next
Oh,
to
yeah,
me.
cool. Yeah,
I didn't say hi to him.
I don't
but-
know. We didn't honestly. That experience was so surreal. He's a busy guy. I fully understand that. We didn't. It was maybe 15, 20 minutes of talking outside of the actual podcast. So he came and he had stuff to do, and afterwards he got out of there pretty quick. But yeah, I don't know. The offer would, if ever he's interested in some reason he hears this, then I can definitely connect it and make that happen in any way, shape or form he's interested. I just have the right connections in Egypt to pull that off, where it'd be whatever shape of tour that would be, like whether he wants a private thing or whatever, we could do it. Because I imagine he's popular enough of a figure where even in his sites on Egypt, he stands the chance of like having a crowd kind of attracted to him. Oh, there's a famous guy here, But you can visit these sites at times of day and do things in a private fashion. Like one of the things I love to do now on these tours, and I like to go early, like particularly to the Giza Plateau. That place fills up so quick by about 10 o'clock in the morning, but it opens at 7:30, and no one wants to go there at 7:30. And our first day on the tour is Giza. Generally, I like to start and end at Giza, and I tell people, it's like, I'm sorry, but I know you guys will all arrive, you're tired, but we are getting up early on this first day. We want to get there for opening, because you basically have it to yourself, and it's wonderful. It's much better than just, going through just a horde of people. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'd love to go back on that show. I have to kind of force myself to reach out at some point. I'm not the best at self-promotion, and I'm just like, I'd rather happy to stay here, but one of these days I might reach out.
Well, I think that's why your channel is so lovable, is because you're not really pushing things down our throats, and you're not really into like self-promotion, it seems like.
No, if there was a way to do this without me actually appearing on the screen, I probably would have gone that route. But it's just, at the end of the day, I think it's my footage. It's my little story. I'm in a lot of it, and I'm giving you my opinion. So I was like, well, I might as well put myself in it a little bit. But I minimize my own time on screen. And I know you have a similar philosophy about doing stuff, but I am really glad to
Well,
see you doing
my
the podcast
philosophy
and
is
stuff.
slightly changing.
Yeah, I can tell. That's you're already.
Slightly changing because like I used to be all about being behind the camera, and I do feel like it's important to be able to step in front just a little bit. Not, it's not I don't never want it to be about
Yeah,
me,
same.
but it's a good tool to have in your arsenal to be able to like introduce something.
Absolutely, yeah, and at the end of the day, I also think that people do connect a little bit more with a person. Look, there's plenty of examples of successful faceless YouTube channels out there. I mean, what's Exurba, EXURB1A, one of my favorite channels out there. I mean, he does that completely faceless. There's a few others like that, and you can do it, but it's much more difficult. I think people connect a bit more with a person. But yeah, the whole being known or whatever that's the last thing I kind of want, and it's just very strange when you get recognized, which has happened to me the odd time, and yeah, that's a bizarre experience. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I don't get that because people don't recognize my face, but I'm sure that's kind of an interesting experience.
If they connect the dots at some point, it'll definitely happen.
Yeah. I mean, the weirdest thing, I've gotten recognized one time at the post office when I was writing something. Somebody looked over my shoulder and said, "That handwriting's just like that after-school channel." And I was like, "Huh,
funny."
Yeah.
I did actually at my local grocery store. It's like a guy looked at me and goes, "Man, you look like a guy that was on Rogan," and I was just like, "Oh, do I? That's interesting." I didn't own up to it, but yeah, it's happened.
You didn't
I
own
did
up
not
to
that
it.
time. No, I was like, "Oh, that's funny."
That's
said,
funny.
Do I really? Who was that? And I just was like, he might have figured it out, but I don't know. It's happened in airports. My local pub here happens a lot in Egypt. Funnily, I mean, obviously, I think people that are Western tourists that are going there might have researched and seen some of my stuff. It happened a lot. It happens like randomly in hotels. I was really excited to like a local Egyptian guy at one point who was at a wedding at one of the hotels we were at recognized me and came over and said hi. But in airports a fair few times. London airport, like local airports here in the States. Even at a local pub here, some guy goes, "Hey, you're that Kirk Wiki guy or whatever." And yeah, I think the Rogan interview probably did a lot to help that. I mean, just having your face out there. But,
Yeah, but all your videos do really well. Like everyone gets several hundreds of thousands of views.
It's up and down. I've noticed there's trends and things go up and some things hit, some things don't. I like it. I mean, at the end of the day, my philosophy with that stuff has always been and continues to be to kind of just to please myself. I don't want to cave to any pressures about what's popular and what's not. I'm going to investigate the things that I find interesting, and I'm very, very grateful and lucky that other people also find it interesting and enough to watch it and support me and all that type of thing. And I couldn't do it without that support, but I try to stay true to that. Like I want to follow kind of the things that are interesting to me, and I'm just grateful other people find it interesting as well.
That's an awesome philosophy. Reminds me of what's happening with the NBA right now. It's like a lot of people aren't watching the NBA, and players are complaining, but it's like, you're taking nights off. If you don't care, how do you expect us to care? And it's like a good philosophy of just, like, if you really care about the thing, other people are going to care. And, like, who would have known that tube drills and bases would have captured so much attention, you know?
The bass stuff this year has been insane. That came out of left field for me, but it definitely consumed my year in 23. It was huge, and I genuinely think we're on, like, it's the beginning of what I hope will amount to some significant change, because I don't share everything that's going on, and I will get to another update on that topic soon. But we are the thing I'm most pleased about. Well, a couple things. One is we found more. We've got more vases for analysis. We found actually examples of vases that are even slightly better than the best examples we've found so far. And what I'm most excited about, though, is that we are in the process of working with Egyptian educational institutions who have access to museums.
Yo, what's up, Purple-Wise?
And we're
What's up,
in
Stash?
these teams that they're forming with us, that they have
Yo, what's up,
engineers.
Purple-Wise? What's up, Stash? How are you?
And it
We're
looks
done,
like
though. We just
that
restarted, but we're done. We're going to read
getting
somebody.
access to some of these artifacts in these
We're gonna-
museums and putting them through the same analysis that we've done.
Thanks for being here. Welcome. How are you?
Artifacts so far, and I think that's the step that's required. I'd love to see this really get taken on by the Egyptians themselves, because I think this is the point that Chris.
Yeah,
Johnson
buddy.
made.
Sorry.
very effective.
My OBS is bugging, man. It keeps cutting out and doing weird stuff. I might have to uninstall it and reinstall it.
It's almost something that
I bought a really nice fan for
being told it by
for laptop cooling. Howdy, Purple Eyes. Well,
and elsewhere.
we're about to sign off though. We're about to read somebody. This is what we did. We're gonna flex at the end. We flex every
There are a lot of
stream at the
Egyptians
end
that are
for
interested in these topics. I mean,
what's it called?
Egyptian
Update 2?
engineers, other people that
Yeah.
see the same things, you know, Kristana's seeing or I'm seeing, and they're questioning it. And I think it's an opportunity for the Egyptians themselves to take hold of their own history, and it's an opportunity for them to just kind of rewrite some of it and talk a bit more about it. So my hope is that this, you know, this sort of effort and these lines of investigation get picked up by the Egyptians themselves, and they run with it. I'd love to see that. And
Yeah, I think that's a great point because, unfortunately, Graham Hancock got mixed up in some very, inflammatory articles that said he was a white supremacist or something. And I've never
nice.
gotten that from him,
Let's
but
see who's online.
I can
Thank you for
kinda
being
see
here. Thank you
how
very much.
people
Thank you
would
very
throw
much.
that accusation at the wall just because.
Thank you for coming back after my
you know,
OBS
there is a
dropped.
certain look
If
when
my stream
white guys
drops,
come in and
Yeah.
start
just
doing
please
research and
refresh
saying, "Hey, this
or
history isn't the way you think it
send a
is."
message in chat.
You know, their identity is rooted in that
Thanks.
history.
Like you
So they're
did.
gonna
That was
be very
great. Thanks.
defensive of
yeah, a little bit. And
Purple
I
Eyes, I
understand.
appreciate
I
that.
mean, it's
Right.
a false argument to make against someone like
And
Graham.
thank you
I
everybody
mean,
for
the
being here,
argument
lurkers, Christian,
that you
everybody.
somehow
We're gonna read
by
Cubby. He's
suggesting
playing
that it
Goldeneye.
was
I think it's a he.
different culture, an older
Thanks for streaming.
civilization.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
It's like people's
How are you?
some
We might
people
play
see
Goldeneye
it
later.
as
We
being
probably
like
not
taking
tonight,
something away
but probably
from
probably in the future.
indigenous culture that's there. Even though like Hancock and no one else or me, anyone else,
Thanks
no
for
one,
Blyce.
no one even
Do
mentions.
you stream too, or
Like it's like we're not saying
You're a
it's a bunch of
streamer?
white guys that came in and did this or whatever.
it's all good?
It's,
I'm not gonna dox you on
it's
stream.
like the people that lived here.
Oh,
It's
why
the
not?
same people that were
Oh
there
no,
for
this is gonna open
older
your
and they had
page. Oh my
advanced
god.
technology. Like it's not a. It gets interpreted as this racial thing where
Sorry.
it's not.
Sorry to
Where
dox
he
you.
got mixed up, and this is.
If you follow me, I'll follow you. I follow every follower.
Particularly in South America, when you talk about
Right.
Wirikosha and these civilizers that these
Thanks for
stories that
being here.
come from these South American
Oh, where'd my chat go?
cultures.
Oh no.
I mean, they literally in that case, you know, it's literally.
No, you just watched
described
me?
as
Oh, it's all
tall,
good,
sort of
thanks.
Fair-skinned, yellow. Or
Thank you for
orange
being here. Thanks for
haired,
being you.
bearded people, and of course facial hair and things like that.
You don't need to
aren't
stream.
really,
Just I was just wondering.
a very prevalent genetic trait in a lot of those groups of people that live there. And that's literally the interpretation. He's reporting on the interpretation of the
happened?
legends as they said. And
Why is this being so
and
dumb?
it's probably worth noting that he's the only one who gets
Why?
attacked on that basis. There is quite literally established scholars in that anthropological and archaeological fields, and some of these guys are considered like the authorities on these topics.
No, we're gonna
who
raid
say
Robbie
the
Rat
exact
Poison. That's
same
what we're doing.
things. They're interpreting the exact same legends and stories, but nobody's throwing stones at them. They're not calling them white supremacists,
That's what we're gonna do.
Nazis, and all this sort of nonsense. They're only going after Graham because he's challenging the mainstream, and it's the same set of these sort of dog whistle terms that they.
He always
that
plays
they've
the
been
coolest
throwing
games
at him
in.
for
He's the
years.
coolest
I mean,
guy. Thank you.
2019, the Society of American Archaeology dedicated 27 pages of one of their journals to attacking him with exactly the same talking points, which are these generic logical fallacies that don't address any of the actual points he makes. They're just trying to discredit him. And, when Ancient Apocalypse came out, that whole discussion just got amplified. Like, it was that they literally were looking for the people that didn't like the things he was saying, or they didn't like the fact that Jordan Peterson or Joe Rogan were involved in it. They went and looked for who are the dissenting voices. They found the same guys, John Hoops and crowd, Jason Covolito, and the same guys that have been making these same stupid arguments about Hancock that are just morally bankrupt arguments. They just found them and they amplified that argument, so now it's in newspapers and stuff, and it became a bigger deal. But yeah, it's a ridiculous argument to make if you know anything about Graham at all as well. But it's just it's a silly argument, and it's not something that even gets mentioned in his show.
Yeah, Graham's a great guy. I'm working on a collaboration with him, 2 collaborations with him right now, and hopefully we don't get canceled.
Hopefully,
for it.
yeah. Well, I caught up with Graham
Yeah.
again myself at CPAC last year, and that was great. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years, and he actually came and found me, and we sat down and chatted for a while, which I was very pleased to have happen, because he's a superstar, right? He's like he gets bothered by people endlessly at these conferences, and I'm not going to. I've had plenty of time with Graham